Nvidia's forecast for China market is 0. We're going to continue to engage the U.S. government, continue to engage the China government to advise them and to encourage them to allow us to go back and compete in the open market. And so until then, we should assume 0.
And Bloomberg has learned that White House officials are urging members of Congress to oppose a measure that would limit Nvidia's ability to sell AI chips to China. Our tech correspondent Annabelle Droulers has more on this scoop. And Belle, that's a positive piece of news for Nvidia.
Yeah, it might be something they like, except it doesn't mean, of course, that it's the end of any sort of bipartisan support to really push back and continue to limit China's advancements in AI. But yes, this is a really great scoop that's come through in the last few minutes here. And what sources are telling us is that White House officials are urging members of Congress to oppose or reject the so-called GAIN AI Act. Now, this is a system essentially that requires chip makers to give US companies first dibs on AI chips that are controlled for export to China and other arms embargoed nations as well. So effectively, it's looking at ways to basically bar AMD Nvidia from selling their best contracts or best chips rather to China. So that's what is being proposed by White House officials to members of Congress. Again, as I said, yes, that does mean it's a victory for Nvidia. We know that Nvidia has publicly lobbied against this sort of legislation. Their key argument is essentially if you restrict China's advancements in AI, you only push it to become more competitive internally and to continue that focus on self-sufficiency. But as I said, it doesn't mean the end of any sort of pushback or further limitations of China, because what we're also understanding is that lawmakers have begun working on a separate measure. This is called the so-called SAFE Act of 2025. And again, that would require the Commerce Department to deny all applications for sales to China of any AI chips that are more powerful than what the US currently allows. So, yes, and of course, we just heard there Jensen Huang talking about sales of H20 and how they've had to basically completely clear out China at all from their upcoming revenue forecasts.
Speaking of that revenue forecast, it is that forecast that's driving market sentiment today. It beat expectations.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of pressure on Jensen Huang coming into these numbers, and could he deliver something strong enough to try and offset these persistent fears we've seen around the sustainability of AI spending and these concerns that we're in an AI bubble. But actually, he managed to deliver in the late trading session, because we saw Nvidia jumping pretty strongly after the company lifted its sales forecast for the next quarter. So they're now looking at around $65 billion in revenue. They've also said that Blackwell sales are off the charts. They're saying that the ramp-up of the Rubin architecture is going very well. There was a weak spot probably, and that was in the margins, and they just missed on analyst expectations. And Jensen Huang also spoke about this, just the pressures in the supply chain, how supply chain component prices are increasing. We had reporting from Reuters, for instance, recently that Samsung was looking to raise a key memory chip price of the DDR5 by some 60% in November alone. So perhaps some of its biggest suppliers, a lot of them based here in Asia, TSMC, Hon Hai, Samsung, SK Hynix, there's a lot more. Biden, Advantest, Tokyo Electron. I mean, there's many, but maybe they're looking to take advantage of their pricing power as well.